Good morning, good afternoon, good day, and good evening. Now, I don't know what time of day it is for you, but for me, it's the good time of day. It is a marvelous Monday. We are getting started. We are out here getting ready to get our day going. But I figured that today, instead of us starting our day off with talking about something like, I don't know, the Ukraine, let's talk about something a little different. Well, nah, I'm lying. We're still going to talk about certain things when it comes to the Ukraine as well. And actually, when I'm talking about the Ukraine, I wanted to actually touch on something that I recently learned that someone has informed me about, that in regards to the Ukraine, one of the things that's recently come out is that one of our HBCUs, Hampton University that's located out in Virginia, has reached out and has stated that anyone affected by the Ukrainian crisis, up to 50 to 100 students, they're going to make themselves available to them, that they can have room, board, tuition to Hampton University. And I find that very interesting because 8 years on, or 8 years ago, rather, there was another issue that happened in, I don't know, someplace in Nigeria affected by this thing called Boko Haram. And there were a number of young black women that were affected by that tragedy, where they were kidnapped from their homes. And there was initially a great public outcry towards those black women during that time frame. And during that time frame, I would say that lasted for less than 6 months. What happened? Here's what actually happened. It happened that they were never brought home. Initially, it was bring home our girls, and those young black women were never brought home. And now that they've been able to escape, and there's still about approximately 100 of them out of the 600 that were captured during that time frame, I wonder if the same courtesy has been extended from Hampton University to young black women from Nigeria that were kidnapped from Boko Haram and that were affected by that tragedy. Were they also afforded and extended an invitation to Hampton University, 50 to 100 of them that possibly could have been affected by that tragedy, to come on in there? Or is it just the most recent one that's happened in regards to those that were affected by the tragedy in Ukraine that happened to be white? Interesting. Interesting. It's one of those things that, as I'm thinking about it, it jogged my memory on things that might have happened during that time frame. So, interesting thought process, interesting thing that possibly could have happened, but it's definitely something to be aware of. Something also that's going on in Boko Haram. There was another tragedy in regards to them in Nigeria here recently, and they had a train where you have a number of missing families. There were 150 people that were missing from something that's going on over there in Nigeria in regards to Boko Haram. Almost 2 weeks ago, there was an attack on a train there. And why I'm bringing these things up is because I want to make sure that as we're going through this time, now, not the only thing that we talk about is Ukraine, but since we have the Ukraine that's going on right now, there's also things that are going on that are affecting black people around the world as well, that are not here local to the United States. So we can talk about all the things that are definitely affecting us. As a matter of fact, we're going to switch gears here in a minute to something that's a little closer to home for those of us who stay here in the state of Texas, but I want to stay internationally for the time being on talking about things that, I don't know, that might be affecting black people, that should be making our hearts bleed, that should be tugging at our heartstrings on things that are affecting or that are impacting black people internationally, as well as black people here locally. So one of the other things I touched on here briefly is there about 2 weeks ago in Nigeria, a country over there on the continent, they had a issue with this rebel group Boko Haram that has had that a train was attacked, and that left 150 people that are still missing after that attack on that train. And that's not to mention the 8 people that were killed during that time frame as well, or during that incident as well. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and I'll talk about some things that's going on with the Sahel, but I think I'll talk about that tomorrow, because there's more than enough things that are going on around the world that are impacting us as Black people, whether we are here locally here in the United States or overseas on the continent. And we're going to be touching on other areas, such as things going on in Yemen, such as things that are going on with people of color in Palestine, things that are going on down here in Central and South America with Black people in all of these different locations. But I think it's important that as we see the direction that media takes when in regards to, I don't know, tragedies, that only things that impact Western society, Western civilizations, are things that we're going to cover. I don't want that to be the case. So if it bothers me enough that I see that and I'm going, well, we should talk about it, then most definitely we should talk about it. What's the other thing that I wanted to talk about today? And I guess that the best way for me to go about this for you is I want to share my screen, because I am here in the state of Texas, and there's a law that should be going into effect here shortly for this calendar school year. The law that's going to be added, is House Bill number 3979. Again, House HB 3979. And this is one that deals with the curriculum and what can and cannot be taught in Texas schools. And I think it's really important that as we go through this, or as I'm talking about it, that let me share my screen with you so you can take a look at this bill that has been passed in the House at this time, and it's just waiting for the signature of the governor to show up at this point as well. So what is it that's there that is going to be put into effect here very soon, shortly, as a matter of fact, that we want to make sure that we pay attention to? Give me 1 minute here, as for whatever reason, I don't know why it's taking forever to refresh, why it's taking a little bit of time. I guess technology is a wonder and a curse at the same time. So let's see. There we go. So let's share this, shall we? So here in this bill is to be entitled, this is the act that we're talking about, HB number 3979. And it deals with a lot of things that are good, but I'm always concerned with some of the things that are pushed into a bill that are not as advantageous, or that they slide on in there that you might not think about, because you're going, oh, that's a good thing. Oh, that's a good thing. Oh, I can definitely see that. And then in the middle of it, they toss something in there, and it's something that back in the day, if you I'm from that, I'm a 70s child, so I remember the Arsenio Hall show where it was things that make you go, this is one of those things that make you go, when you're reading it. So let's just dive right into it. So in adopting the essential knowledge and skills for social studies curriculum, the State Board of Education shall adopt essential knowledge and skills that develop each student's civic knowledge, including an understanding of, and this is where we really get into it. So as you're driving on in, if you're trying to get into the office like I am, this is one of those things that if you're listening to me right about now, and if you want to, you can even hop on in. I have dropped the link, and maybe what I'll do, I'll also drop the 1-800 number here in a moment, but let's drop this link. Let's talk about this. So the fundamental moral, political, and intellectual foundation of the American experiment and self-government, as well as history, qualities, traditions, and features of civic engagement in the United States. And we're going to jump down a little bit, because it talks about the things that will be included: founding fathers, the standard American history narrative that's been taught, regardless of whether or not there's any basis in merit or new facts that might send that in a different direction. We're going to ignore those for right now, but we're going to jump down to this next section down here where it starts talking about what they're going to be making a part of their curriculum and how these are going to impact. So one of the things that it gets down to here at number 6, this is where I really want to actually let's start at numbers. Let's start at number 5. It says no teacher, administrator, or other employee in any state agency, school district, campus, open enrollment charter school, or school administration shall be required to engage in training, orientation, or therapy that presents any form of race or sex stereotyping or blame on the basis of race or sex. Now that sounds really good. I love that. I mean, that's boom. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so number 6 jumps into it. It gets a little. I say we're going deeper down the rabbit hole. Is this some more good sounding things? Let's see where we're at. It says no teacher, administrator, or any or other employee in any state agency, school district, campus, open enrollment, charter school, or school administration shall require or make part of a course the following concepts. What are these concepts? Well, let's jump right into it. Number 1, what's the concept that it's talking about? One race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex. Now that's that sounds really good. I like that. Let's go on to number 2. Number 2, an individual by virtue, this is another concept, an individual by virtue of his or her race or sex is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously. Something that makes you go, huh? So I say the unconsciously part. That let's stick a pin in it. We're gonna come back. We'll probably come back to this. Let's see. An individual should be discriminated against, or so this is another concept that they're saying that should not be taught. An individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partly because of his or her race or sex. Okay, I like that. Let's see. This is number 4, says members of one race or sex cannot and should not attempt to treat others without respect to race or sex. Interesting wording there. An individual's moral character is necessarily determined by his or her race or sex. I like that as well. Okay. An individual by virtue of his or her race or sex bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race or sex. Does that also mean that an individual shouldn't receive the benefits of actions of his or her, of members of his or her race or sex from the past? So the negatives don't apply, but the positives should. I think it doesn't state. So let me not jump to any conclusion. Let's keep it moving. Number 7, it says any individual should feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of his or her race or sex, or, and before we get to the or part, a number that goes into number 8. So if you're teaching something and you want to make sure that the individuals, the students don't feel any guilt, you shouldn't put that forward, but it makes it, the wording here also means that they shouldn't feel guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of his or her race or sex. So if you're teaching something and say, I don't know, it deals with slavery, it deals with which happened in history, part of these social sciences that it's talking about, and they feel anguish or distressed about it, does that mean you can't teach that aspect of it? The wording's a little problematic, to say the least. Let's jump in that number 8 point that they have here. It says, or that meritocracy or traits such as hard work ethic are racist or sexist, or were created by members of a particular race to oppress members of another race. That again becomes problematic, because if you teach a system and that system deals with, it states that it has to deal with meritocracy. It states that a person has a level of meritocracy to them. And it's something that does oppress or exploits a member of another race. Is that something that can't be taught according to this? So if it makes somebody feel bad, if it's something that deals with fact, about a system that's built on oppression or a system that is built on exploitation. We can't talk about it in schools, and you need to teach the standard narrative that's already there, even if the standard narrative has been shown to have obvious flaws in it. Interesting standpoint, interesting viewpoint. And something that can honestly make you just go, when looking at it. So this bill already passed the House, on its way to the governor's desk, or actually sitting on the governor's desk. I'm pretty sure that by the end of the day, this is going to be signed and put into law here very shortly. HB 3979 says that in our schools, in our public schools, and what our children are taught, if it brings them or makes them feel some type of way, then maybe we shouldn't teach it as far as in the histories or the humanities. If it is something that talks about a systemically racist system or a system that's built on oppression and built on exploitation, that can't be talked about within the classroom setting as well. You can't highlight those things as a teacher. It's very interesting that it says that initially there's another point in that bill that I kind of glossed over, but you can definitely take a look at it. It's HB 3979. That's there. Shared it with you. That was on sharing my screen with you. And just want to make sure that as we're getting ready to get into our day to day, that we look at some of those things that are impacting us on a day to day basis, that are impacting us as we're getting ready to get on out there, and that is impacting us and our children as they get into these schools. So both locally, and I focus on something that's really close to home for myself, being here in Texas and getting ready to get out here and go make this thing happen today. And also some things that are happening internationally. So as our children are getting your kids ready, we getting ready to get out there. We're getting ready to make these things happen today. These are some things that are not Ukrainian related, or maybe could be Ukrainian related, depending on how you look at them. Some of these different aspects that we can definitely look at on things that we should think about, things that we should contemplate, other things that are happening out there in the world, other events, other worldwide tragedies or tragedies that are happening on the continent. We're going to be looking at some supply chain issues. Why is it that we don't have a United States of Africa? They have so many resources that are used throughout the world. How is it that theirs is monetized and essentially colonized even today? And why is it that we can't talk about it? So I guess that's where I'm at today, is why is it that we can't talk about these things? Why is it that we can't make sure that our children know about these things? Why is it that we're being force fed a version of history here within our schools? Things that should make the heart beat. Things that
make us feel some kind of way.
And make us get on with our day to day. So as you're driving on in the day, as you're making your way on into work, I don't know how many of us are still working remotely, or if you are actually getting physically in. Well, if you're in the state of Texas, you're probably physically on your way in. Well, maybe not, but depending on where you're at, if you're in the sound of within the sound of my voice, hopefully you're getting your day started. Hopefully your day is going great. Hopefully everything is working for you in a way in which it should. Hopefully we gave you something that you can think about today. Let me pull that back up again. I just want to make sure if you're in the state of Texas and you have kids and they're going to school starting next year, because this one is supposed to start beginning with the 2021-2022 school year. And if that's so it's going to take effect immediately. And if it's not, then it takes effect September 1st, 2021. They've covered all their bases, because now that it's on his desk, and once he gets it, this is what we have. This is where we're at. This is what's going into effect, and this is what's affecting our kids today. They're coming after the next generation, and they make sure the next generation is just as ignorant about a lot of the shenanigans that they like to play. I love that word, shenanigans, that they like to play. has a all the different types of shenanigans, all the different types of things that are going on within the system, all the different aspects that we are dealing with daily, hourly, monthly, yearly, weekly, minute by minute, second by second. We are dealing with a lot of different issues, and a lot of it just deals with the fact that we just aren't informed, and we should be. And I think that it's really important at this point that, among other things, and as we're going through this and as we're contemplating it, that all the things that we are going through today, that a lot of things that we are dealing with today, that we get in there, that we look at it, that we contemplate it, and we don't just follow whatever the narrative is. A lot of times they put things out there that are narratives that are designed to make sure that we keep our eyes off the prize. Being for has a, they want you ignorant, I want you knowledgeable. And with that being said, I say I want us to keep that knowledge going, and I don't want to hold y'all up too long. Hopefully, I gave you some food for thought getting your day started if you're like me. And if it's not, oh well, at the end of your day, because I know I haven't told you before, but I love you. Hoping that you're having a great day. Hoping that you're killing it. And may you always, always, always be blessed with peace in your life. And with that, we are out.